Hello and welcome back to the Andy and Otto's Motorsport channel. In the last episode we fixed the dip to main beam issue, and going on the same issue that we had there, I just jumped straight in and tried to cure the wipers using exactly the same cure I used for the dip to main. Well, it made it worse. It then meant that the wipers run permanently rather than on a switch. So rather than having no speed off as such and on at one speed, I had, the second I turned the kill switch on, I had wipers moving, and when I flicked the switch it then went faster. So I'm going to say, with the fact that it went faster, the changeover works correctly. But the fact that when I turn the kill switch on, it's getting power immediately, leads me to believe that there's another issue. Now, because this one's wired up slightly differently, the first switch to control the slow speed controls the earth of the motor itself. We're going to have to attack this one slightly differently. It's going to use pretty much the same method. I'm going to check the wiring out first, but I need to have one of the switches activated for me to even be able to supply power. Now, I know which switch it is, or it should be, but whether it's activating the ground correctly or not is something else, or it might be the switch has failed internally and is just failed on. So we'll check that, and we'll literally start at basics. We'll check that the earth is being switched correctly and the switch hasn't failed, and we'll go from there. Power it up, check that the wiring works correctly, so I do have a slow and fast speed, and we know the relay works right, because when I switch it over, it goes from a slow speed to a fast speed. So we can say that the pin 3 and 4 work, and we can say that pin 1 and 2 work, or should we say pin 3, 4 and 5 work. So the power in is pin 3 because it's French. Pin 4 and 5 are your switched outputs, and pin 1 and 2 are the changeover, so the low current side. We know 1 and 2 works because it's switched, and we know 4 and 5 works because when I switched it over, the speed changed. So this is, the more I'm talking about this and going through it in my head, it's looking more to be that ground wire, the ground from the motor. Now, if that's permanently has got permanent continuity to a ground, that could be the switch has failed internally. Then in which case I've got another one. That's not an issue. I do carry them. I carry most things. I carry relays, carry fuses, spare wire, switches, just toggle switches. So even if the start button goes down, you can flick the toggle switch. It will enable the ground for the start of circuit, and you can switch it back. It's not ideal, not by a long way, but if it gets you out of trouble at a race meeting, that's all that matters. So we're going to start with exactly the same process of powering up the motor, but let's see first if this ground is causing an issue and how it could be causing an issue. Yeah, let's go from there. Now, this is the wipe one. The power's off, the wiper isn't going. Switch grounds, you can see even if there's no power to a circuit. So I'm just going to take my multimeter probe, stick it on a known good ground. So I'm going to use the battery. That's it, power probe's going to wake up now. There we go. Right, that's hooked up to a ground, and if I take the other end and just find another ground point, the multimeter works. So I know that this is grounding, again, about 2 ohms for a ground. Now, if I go to this ground point, which is the switch ground for the wiper, and basically back probe in here, very badly. Well, it shouldn't show that. Now if I flick the switch, as I suspected, that's a permanent ground for some reason. Now let's just move straight onto the switch panel and see if the switch is working correctly, because that shouldn't stay a permanent ground. That should be switched by one of the switches. So let's move over to here, turn you 90 degrees to the switch panel. Now, yeah, it's a mess, okay. This first switch here, the green one, is the one for the switched ground. Now, if I just pop these 2 terminals off, put them out, take that, let's see if I can move the multimeter around. Just see it at the bottom of the screen. There we go. No continuity. Oh. Flip switch. Continuity. Works. That should. Okay, this is an issue. I'll just plug these back in to where they belong. Right, okay. The switch works as should. Let's go outside to the motor. See if there's something wrong going on there. Now, this is the wiper motor, and this is the drawing I have of when I bench tested this. So this is completely off the car. The white one is the slow, black is ground, and red is fast speed. So let's see if that is still true. So I'll just take the power probe, find the black wire, plug it on, and we'll go for the white one, slow one. Plug that on. Well, that works. Also tells me that there is a circuit. Because it's a motor, there will be a circuit. Now if I take that out of the white one, plug it into the red one, now this should go faster. Should do. Yep, it's drawing slightly more current and it's going faster. So that works as it should. The motor works as it should, and just to confuse you, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a continuity test with the switch off. So the black one lines up with green, or yellow with green stripe. Move that over here so it can be seen. Nothing. Good. As it should be. So let me go flick the switch. Now from this one to a ground point, there's continuity. Okay, this is getting very odd. So in the vehicle, when this was connected, there was an issue. And now I've disconnected it and tested this part separately, the car loom part. There's not an issue. So if it's not in this side, the car side, must be on the motor side. I wonder if I connect to this, put that there so it can be seen. So this is to the ground of the motor. Hang on, what was that? Ground of the motor. Ah, ha ha ha! Evil! This is in the plug, and this one's on the suspension turret. If I take that off, the continuity stops. Ha! Right. There's a problem. This black ground wire that connects to the top and then goes into the motor, in some way is connecting maybe through this body or through this body to this, which is bolted to the car. And it's giving that permanent ground. When it only had the 4-pin relay on it, I'm going to call it a 4-pin because, well, only 4 worked. That wasn't an issue because when it was in the 5th pin position, there was no power. But when it switched over, it then worked and I was none the wiser. But only when I put a known working relay in, did it then come on all the time. Because that 5th pin was being activated and the motor was grounding through the body of the car, it didn't matter what I did with the switch. It was going to permanently run because the circuit was complete. It was grounding through the body of the car, ground into the battery, and that 5th pin was supplying a power. Okay, this is a new one on me. I don't really want to change the wiring. That's an awful lot of wiring to change to add an extra relay and go from there. I'm trying to think the best way to do this. I think, to be honest, I'm going to take the wiper motor off, put it on the bench, and see if I can replicate this issue on the bench. If I can, I'll pull the motor apart and see if there's an obvious ground that I could cut or desolder without it affecting the motor, or we're going to have to look down another route. And if it has to come to rewiring, then I'll have to do it. I'm hoping there's another issue. So I'm going to pull this off, put it on the bench, and we'll go from there. So this is the motor on the bench. If I connect that to that, just bring that in shot. That's showing that that's connected. Showing that that's connected there. Now obviously it's going to be connected there. And down on this ground pin here, it's also connected. Okay. Well, I'll start by taking it off the back. Oh dear, I've done something silly. There we go. Let's remove this out of the equation and see if, which it should do, yep, this whole motor system's grounded. Okay, just going to pull this apart and hopefully it's nothing too drastic to go inside of a wiper motor. So let's test it. Let's see if this cap is no. There we go. Still grounded. So it's not that cap. I wonder if it's this, because this has got a connection here. I wonder if there's something underneath it that could that could cause this issue. something springy inside this. This might be the issue. I'm hoping it is. Ah, okay. It's got some little prongs which attach to the motor. Oh, cool. How much of a good shot I can get of this. These little prongs, I wonder if they are the stop position and the intermediate wipe. If they run on these tracks here, there's 3 little tracks. Wonder if they run on them. Ah, okay. This is what it looks like. This one here has got a break. This one has got a join. Now, I wonder if it runs on this one for your park, and that is the park point. So when that pin gets continuity, it stops. I wonder if that's how it works. But this is now disconnected, so it's not connected through bolts and thread and anything else. Now, keep that one well away, and black on that. Oh, there's still continuity to the body, so it's not that. It's not that plate, it's not them fingers. Let's have a look. Shove that on there. Try this brush. Okay, it's connected to this brush. It's connected to this brush. So if it's connected to them, it will be connected to that. Damn, there's not an easy way around this. That ground is connected to that main shaft that runs all the way through with that worm gear on it. Now I'm assuming that shaft is sat in some type of bearing under here. If it's sat in the bearing, there is absolutely nothing I can do about that. I can't insulate the bearing in any way. Let's put this back together. At this point in time, it's looking like a rewire. this cap back on. Goes on that way. There's a little tang that makes you only put it on one way.